Hello again, everyone, and welcome to a very exciting and very important edition of the Parental Playbook. We are focused today on the mental game, and we have with us a certified mental game coaching professional and consultant, Ladricca White. Thanks so much for joining us, Ladricca. What a pleasure to see you.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. Well, let's get right into it. First of all, what is a certified mental game coaching professional? You've got a great title, but let's talk about the great things you do with it.
Right. So, a certified mental performance coach, or we can call them mental performance professionals, they help student athletes optimize their mindset, helping them build that resilience and learn how to just perform consistently when under pressure. It also focuses on just basically strengthening the mental skills like improved focus, increasing confidence, emotional control, motivation, goal setting, and one of the important things is how to recover from mistakes. We all see, like, for instance, we watched that basketball game with Houston, that last 20 something seconds.
Yeah.
Like, that is the prime example of don't give up, keep playing, because we don't know what the outcome. We may think or assume there's an outcome, but the power of the mind and how it has the influence over everything physical is
Right.
amazing.
Right. So, it's interesting too, because when it comes to sports and competition, we always focus on the winners. We never think about the impact on the other side and how a difficult or painful loss, a last second loss, we never think about how it impacts the other players on the other team who didn't get the W. So, how do
Mhm.
you begin to help players bounce back from those difficult losses or injury, especially because we know injuries are part of the game. Doesn't matter what sport you play.
The biggest thing is knowing that you gave your effort and that, whenever you go into something and you give your 100%, you then don't get in the mindset of bargaining. Like, I should have done this if I would have done this, because you know that in that moment, one, you trust your skills, you trust your training, and then what you want to see is that flow. Like, you just want to be able to see that I train, because athletes, they don't just train 1 or 2 days. They
Right.
put a lot of time into that schedule. And so then at the end of it, it's almost like I watch it and I'm watching it from that performance coach. I can't just watch a game and enjoy it and be in the moment. It's like I'm like, oh my gosh, okay, I see the confidence has hit them. Oh, wait, like they played a hard game. And so it's just sometimes you can see you can watch body language and tell
Mm,
what's going on in the mind. When an
absolutely.
athlete is playing and that mistake, you can tell that mistake that was that pivotal point that just
Right.
changed everything about their game.
So how do you help coaches, parents, the other folks understand how
Mhm.
important this part of the game is? Because no, I played in the 80s. We never talked about the mental part of the game, right? We didn't even talk about concussions back then. And
Mhm.
so now
Mhm.
we're seeing major universities, major sports teams using a lot of sports psychologists to help people
Mhm.
understand, get the most out of their ability from the neck up.
They do use the sports psychology component. Now, let me say this. I don't know if you even realized it, but I heard you say you played in the 80s. But I want you to think about the coaching then. That coach coached, and I'm not saying that they don't now, but that coach coached to the holistic athlete,
Right.
because they didn't have the staff to say, hey, this person check on this person check on that. So that
Right.
coach was the phone call, and now you forget my husband played. And so I
Right.
know Coach Wilson
Right.
a different role. And so
Right.
not only did he have just him, but he had the remainder of the team. And sometimes I talk to him and I'm like, okay, Coach Wilson, like, tell me. And he learned each of those athletes as they were coming in, and he learned their needs and he learned how to supply those needs. Not
Right.
saying that, of course, times are different now because coaches don't necessarily have the time to do all of that as one individual. because there's
Right.
so many other demands or pressures.
Absolutely. And that's a key word, right? Pressure. When you talk
Hmm.
about your husband and you talk about what he's doing now, he's coached at the pro and the
Hmm.
college level as an offensive coordinator. Pressure is a good word. But when he feels pressure, he's also putting pressure on his players. So does he still have to take that approach in each individual as he's coaching to try to figure out who he can depend on, let's say in a pressure packed situation?
Absolutely. Now, let me say this too. He is a real component of just providing that support. And so it all goes back to you give what you were taught or you give what you were given. And
Right.
so he saw a coach that believed in pouring to the individual and getting to learn that individual. And I
Right.
know for him, that is one of the key components. He loves that teacher aspect. You know, he loves the fact of how to develop and educate. Like he loves that is his forte.
Right. 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 Right.
He dwells in that because he feels like if you know what you're doing and why you're doing it and you understand it, it makes it a lot easier when it comes time to do it or being able to recognize certain situations.
Absolutely. Has one of my focuses when I talk to young people, especially and their parents, is this whole NIL
Hmm.
thing, right? And I just call it a thing because
Yes.
it's like a blob, right? And my fear is the kid who doesn't get the NIL, doesn't get the scholarship offer
Hmm.
because they're recruiting from the portal. And now
Hmm.
he feels like he's inadequate. He's not good enough. And now he's got to bounce back. And he ends up at, let's say, no offense, but Ball State or NHBCU, right? Now he's got to play his
Hmm.
way up to University of Maryland or UCLA or
Hmm.
one of these great institutions. How do they manage their expectations, right? Create a realistic path to success for themselves without
Hmm.
losing that confidence, that confidence piece that you talk about.
You know what I think the biggest thing is when I hear you say the word expectation. So in mental performance, we teach expectations as means of setting judgments against yourself. And so,
Ah,
like, let me give the example. Like, we have goals
right,
that we set. And so, our goal may be long term. I want to play, I'm just going to say an athlete may say D1,
right,
or you may have one that says, I want to get a college degree. I have some that say that is their goal.
right,
And so, in the midst of that, you focus on that goal. That helps drive you towards something. The expectations are kind of like that dark cloud. So, like, let me give you an example.
okay,
So, if you're that athlete, and let's say I play basketball, and I'm reverting to basketball a lot because we just got over basketball season,
okay,
right? So, I play basketball and I am used to hitting 25 points. What do you think is going to start to happen from a mental aspect when I'm narrowed in on 25 points instead of focusing on the game, the process, my role, what is my job, what are my duties? I'm going to
right,
focus in on that number. And so when you're focused in on that number, you're losing sight of everything else that's going around for you because you're not able to perform and be in the moment. And so, an
right.
example. So, once I hit that 25 points, what do you think is going to happen to me?
I
I
lay
did my
back.
part.
Yeah,
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 I'm laying back.
good.
I'm sitting in this comfort zone. So, do you know why Kobe was one of the greats? Kobe was one of the greats because he did not operate in those comfort zones. And what he did was he just played until
Right,
the end. There's a difference. And so, what you have to do, it's like you can't focus on, I may not have the offer now, but do you know how many stories, how
right,
many underdog stories where that individual gets in and works and focuses and grinds and keeps that positive mindset and keeps that confidence and keeps that mental? Regardless of the situation now, we don't know the future. And so if we
right.
stop and we give up now because of the right nows and the here, this is not where I want to be, that expectation is setting us up for judgment. And so
Mm,
then when I don't hit that 25 points, I don't think that I'm not that good. I wasn't that good this game. Well, let's talk about it. You may have like outperformed in other areas, but you're not
right.
going to focus on that because you're so focused in on the outcome and the end result.
And society kind of sets us up that way, right? To be the team of
Hmm.
me. What was that? Welcome home, Roscoe Jenkins, the team of me. And social media, right? And all the societal pressures make us think of, oh, what I've got to do, look at me.
Hmm.
And, and like you said, greatness is not created in comfort zones. right? You've got to get out of your
Hmm.
comfort zone, push yourself, right, to get the most out of your ability. But it's not always
Hmm.
about you. I think if you feel like, you're part of something, which is what I always try to get young people to understand. No, I don't necessarily miss
Absolutely.
the games as much as I miss the bus ride, with the team
Absolutely.
and the locker room
Absolutely.
and the great laughs, right? And the great stories. And
Yeah.
being a part of something bigger than yourself. How do we get our young people today focused on that when social media and the things they care about sends them in that direction?
Well, I think the biggest thing is just basically make sure that they're not learning how to get in their own way. And this is what I mean by that. By listening to the external noise. You cannot, and I know, like, my husband, he's like, he tells his athletes, like, listen, good game, bad game, don't go to social media. That's not where you need to seek your validation from, the
Right.
social media. And I think the biggest thing is learning how to stay grounded. And I think the greats realize that they are a part of a bigger thing. We're built for human social interaction, not isolation.
Right.
And so that's why isolation does not necessarily work. You have to be able to build those connections and connect, as an individual with teams in different scenarios. I mean, you now it's not, you don't stay, well, some do, but you don't, it's not uncommon for an athlete to be at a team a year and then go to another team the next
Right.
year and then
Right.
another team the next year. And so you have to learn that cohesion. And it's so funny because I was speaking to another individual that was interested in coming into the profession. And he was like, well, how do you help coaches? Like just throwing a scenario. And I said, okay,
Right.
let me show you the example. So I said, are you prepared to help that coach that has, I said, let's say we have a basketball team. Let's say you have 3 NIL athletes, 2 walk-ons, and 4 scholarship athletes. How do you develop that cohesion? That's what you have to be prepared to do.
And you need a plan with that. And
You
and
need
I
a plan because it's totally different
yes,
mindsets.
right. And so when I coach parents on
Hmm.
communicating with their student athletes, I remind them that, they'll tell you everything that's going on. You just got to get it out of them,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
don't ask them how was school
Absolutely.
because they're going to say fine. Ask them
Get specific.
open-ended questions. Yes. And
Yes.
get
Tell
it
me about school today.
exactly. And so, like, again, the phones are the culprits, right? That
Hmm.
keep us
Hmm.
from wanting to have these conversations. And so, how do we get our young people to understand the value in those connections that you're talking about, right? Because that's literally in the name of my program, Varsity Connects. It's about
Hmm.
connect, creating a deeper relationship so that trust is there. Because I want kids to go to parents for support, not to a
Hmm.
homeboy on the block, right? Who's going to give you some horrible advice. He's on the block for a reason. Come home and get the people genetically programmed to love you for the support
Yeah.
you need.
I think the biggest thing is like you have to be okay with not tiptoeing
Right,
around your kid. You
right,
are their biggest fan and you're their biggest supporter, but you're not a fan. Like
right,
you have to be okay with stepping in those tough moments and saying, "Hey, wait a minute. I'm noticing this is not you. Talk to me. Tell me what happened. What are you thinking when you do this?" And let them know that this is not me asking you questions because it's you in trouble. I'm trying to understand. And
right,
just being open with that. And so also putting them in situations where they do develop that well-roundedness, like that we talk about. Like, okay, don't go speak for them. You can go over and review or practice, the important things, but have those discussions. Don't just go, instead of speaking on their behalf, allow them to be a voice. Teach them to be a voice. Teach them to be that lead because you have a lot of participants, but how many leaders do you really have?
right. And helping our kids understand the communication part of leadership, I find
Hmm.
kind of tricky these days just because of the way they interact, right? They're texting constantly. They've got all these abbreviations, right? GM is not General Motors, right? It's
It's good
good
morning.
morning. It took me 2 years to figure that out.
What? You gotta stay connected. Okay, now Mark, now listen. You have to find that connection because I'm gonna tell you, when you build those relationships and you speak with those individuals as younger, they will school you and be okay with telling them, hey, listen, okay, now wait, hold on. I don't
Yep.
understand that. Like I was in a session this morning and one of my clients was saying an acronym and I was like, CPR, what do you do that? And
Right.
that client was like, no, 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 no. And they gave me, I was like, okay,
Oh,
don't be afraid to say, wait a minute, hold on. I don't know what that is.
right.
School me a little bit on that. And
Right.
they're excited about that. And so that was one of the things like when I was working in the school system and I was a school counselor, I like those students. It may have been two, three, four, 500, but they were my babies. And
Right.
so they knew right or wrong. I'm going to tell you, like, okay, no, wait, why were you doing this? Okay, now let's think about this. I didn't condemn them, but like, okay, do you think that was right? Would you have
Right.
liked that? And just those questionings. But
Right.
like with that and those connections, I learned because I had a daughter that was coming up. And so I
Hmm.
need to know what a Snapchat is. I need to know what an Instagram is. Now, how do
Yes.
you work this? And what are the
Right.
secret apps?
Right.
And they would school me like, okay,
Right.
Miss White, this is what it is. And
Right.
so it was just, you stay plugged
You
in.
have to know. Yeah, you got to be plugged in, and
Yes.
it's interesting too because, I went to a nightclub not long ago with a
Hmm.
friend. He was
Now, how
going to
was
do some
that?
business. Oh my God. There was no dance floor, right? All they were doing was texting each other. They're sitting on
Uh,
couches,
and
texting
dancing
each other. Yeah, yeah, like at the
and on
couch
Instagram stories.
all night. And I was like, my oldest son's friend was telling, I was like, what's going on here? I was like, this is not like a normal club interaction, like, back in the day when we used to go dance.
Now, Mark, when you have to ask what's going on here, that is the time to exit. It's like, you know what? This is not working like I thought it would.
No. And it's a totally new day,
Yeah.
right? It's a totally new way of communicating. And for athletes, they need to understand, where the real value is, right? And to
Hmm.
put things in perspective and context. And that's why I think your husband's policy is so good. Good game, bad game, stay off social media, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
somebody's always going to have something negative to say, whether you had a great game or not, right? They're going
Right.
to want to know why you didn't play that way the last two games, right? So, or
Right.
something crazy. So, putting things in perspective, I think is critical, especially with these phones, but
Mm.
also when it comes to, the process now, right? And high schoolers especially, because the way the system is set up now, you're competing against men in the portal. So
Yeah.
what's your
I'm glad you
advice?
said that. Men in the
Right,
portal.
right. Because they're grown. Some of these guys, 22, 23, you're
Yeah.
18, right? Coaches don't know if
Hmm.
you can handle the rigors of football practice,
Hmm.
academics, social life, and put it all together and still perform at a high level so I can keep my job and feed my family, right? Like your husband is making
Hmm.
sure he's got tuition money, right,
Hmm.
for your daughter. He's got mortgage money. Like you've got a family and a household to
A
maintain.
wife lifestyle to keep. No, I'm
Right.
just kidding. I work. I
Right.
work.
But, you have to be able to understand that the business has changed, the game has
Hmm.
changed. So parents have to kind of recalibrate their expectations, don't you think? And how do you get them to understand that?
I think the biggest thing is realizing that it is a business.
Yeah.
And with a business, and that's usually how it's run first. I know when Ted was first starting out, it was like, I was like, oh, is it that they don't like, why is it that they're parting ways? And it's just like, you, no, he was like, it's the business. And like, he had to just show me that different perspective because, of course, counselor, like the feelings and why and
Right.
the emotion and the support. And it's like, well, wait. No, 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 but it's a business. Like
Right.
it is a business and it's not anything personal. It's not that they may not like, you would just be there's a different shift or a different fit. And so then with that being said, don't focus on the outcome at the moment.
Mm,
When you are trained to look for opportunity, you realize it's everywhere. And so same thing with your game. I may not be where I am at the school that I am right now, but where is my opportunity to advance and move forward with what I'm trying to do? In the midst of that, I have to trust and consistently. I can't focus on. Oh, okay, I gotta go out here and play this game because I don't have any offers right now. Or
right.
oh, I gotta go out here and play this game. And the scouts, they're looking at me. When they're looking at you, remember they are watching a game, and
Right.
so The opportunity comes in that as the athlete that has the breakout game, because they're still focused and they're staying in that game. And so that scout that's
Right.
coming to look for this may say, hey, listen, they got this over here too. You might want to get over here and look at this. And so just realizing there is opportunity in everything in every area. We just have to be trained to look for it. And if
Love it.
you're sitting in a negative mindset, you can say, well, I lost my job. Well, wait. Because there's an opportunity, because where the door closes, the window opens.
No doubt.
And so if you're able to realize, well, wait, there's another opportunity for me to do this, because there are individuals that don't know this area. And so then you fill in those gaps until
Right.
your next opportunity comes. But you
Right.
keep pushing. And so that's one thing, like I really like my husband, like is all about like just you can't get down. Now I'm the performance coach. You telling me I know. But okay.
Well, let's examine that a little bit. How do you
Okay.
support him on the day-to-day grind? Because I know it's a grind in the position that he's in. Like every day is pressure, every day is meetings, every day is work, right? You really can't get away from work in the position that he holds. And, as an offensive coordinator at a Power
No.
Five, like,
You don't take off.
you're
And
right.
so now, when
Oh,
I said shift in mindset, so the shift in the mindset, and that is when it is football season, I know I have to step into a different role
okay.
because the work schedule. Have you seen the itineraries?
Right. Every minute.
Literally,
And right.
literally. And so it's like, yeah, there are times like how you do this dance. For instance, I can't come in and say, "Hey, listen, on this play, you need to go do X, Y, and Z," because it's just completely shut down. That's the
Right.
mindset. However, I know that in a conversation like, what we do, with mental performance, this is what we focus on. But I find that a lot of things that I do and he does are common. But it's just like I have to have those windows of opportunities. It's like when it's received. Because
Right.
he thinks you do this part, I coach.
Right.
Okay.
Well, you know what? It's interesting, Ladricka, because I remember I was at a National Association of Black Journalists conference in the early 90s,
Hmm.
and there was a
Hmm.
very successful Black female general manager
Hmm.
who was running one of the lectures, and she said, never underestimate having a strong Black woman in love with you. And I never forgot that.
Absolutely.
And it made
Absolutely.
so much difference in my career. I believe it's why I was successful at it. And I know that's why Ted is successful at it. He may not say that.
Well, thank you. No, you know what? Let me tell you. Actually, God was very prominent in helping him
Okay.
move forward with like listen, like let's look at this. Like I know this is the end here, but what do you want to do? God was
Right.
actually very, very instrumental in orchestrating that. On the
Right.
other side, I realized as his wife, my support is going to have to look different. I'm going to have to push you, but know when to hold you. Because in the world of athletes, everything is done for you. Everything. Like, think about it.
Right.
All you have to do is, what are you eating? I just walk over and pick up the stuff with my name on it.
Right.
What what do you need? Hey, you go right here, you turn here, and then you do, this. And
Right.
so it is literally like it's all just kind of laid out for you. And so then that
Right.
adjustment to now I'm going into life, and they're like,
You do that
who's
for
gonna do
you.
this for you? Yeah. Yeah. He was like, babe, can you hold on? That shift. It's like you are a completely strong, independent individual with a degree. Now, come on.
Exactly. And that's another show we're going to do is talk about that transition period because that's another
Absolutely.
sticky, sticky place. But Ladrika, tell
Hmm.
folks where they can find you if they'd love to use your services.
Absolutely. So you can go to our website, www.edgesportscounseling.com, and we are on social media platforms. Our handle is at Edge Sports Counseling, and that's of course Instagram, Facebook. That my daughter tells us that Facebook is for the old people. And I'll say, well, we're on it.
Right. Yes,
and
indeed.
so
Works
forth.
for us.
Absolutely. Or if you want to email, you can email us at info@edgesportscounseling.com.
Awesome. Ladricka, thanks so much for your time today. I really appreciate your insight and what you're doing. Your work is
Thank you.
amazing. Young people everywhere,
Thanks.
parents, coaches, they need it. And I'm glad to share this space with you because our young people
Absolutely.
are the
Thank
leaders
you.
of tomorrow, right? And there's so many
Absolutely.
lessons in sports, and it's
Hmm.
just a metaphor for life. So, we got to keep supporting them, keep lifting them up, and building them up from the neck up. I think we forget about how important
Absolutely.
that really is. All right, Ladrika, have a
Yes.
wonderful day, and thanks so much for your
Thank
time.
you. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. We
Bye.
will see you next time.
Absolutely.
All
Bye.
right.